Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of DSLBD's District Capitalized Money Mondays. Today, we have City First Enterprises, Viviana Stevens, who will be presenting on navigating the Bridge Fund grant requirements. I'm Camille Nixon, Project Manager with DSLBD. I'll pause here in case anyone needs translation. We may still be able to arrange that for you. If you're listening to this on the recorded webinar, this is how you can phone us and get translation services at any time. A little bit about DSLBD, the Department of Small and Local Business Development. We're a DC government agency supporting the development and growth of DC's small and local businesses, as well as supporting in the commercial corridors within which they're operating. I'm part of the Innovation and Equitable Development team, INO.ed. We help businesses at all stages, from idea through established expansion. And we really love connecting with you to see how we can develop services and programs to support you. We have lots of great information on the DC Business Toolkit that kind of pulls it all together, trainings, guidance, referrals to other partners who can help you. Lots of trainings like this one on our Eventbrite page. And of course, you can meet with us by phone or online using our booking site at inno.ed, so at Inno Booking. This training is part of the guidance that we provide through our District Capitalized program. It's a program that pulls together all of the financing and financial management resources that either DSLBD offers directly, like this class, or our products through our Kiva Hub, or it's things that we offer through our partners and support them. And we pull it all together so that you can find the resources that you need to grow your business and access the capital. If you haven't already, I encourage you to sign up for our DC Business Funding Alert. It's a semi-monthly email that goes out to alert you about financing opportunities, trainings, grants, loans, etc. This is how you can connect with me and the rest of the Inno.ed team. I'm joined today by my colleague, Cynthia. She'll be helping me out in the chat. And also, if you're going through our keyword program, you might hear from her in person by phone. I'd like to introduce Viviana Stevens from our partner, City First Enterprises, who will be presenting today. Viviana.
Hi, so my name is Viviana Stevens. I'm a small business and grant program manager for City First Enterprises. And as I mentioned, like in our first session, like I did work like in several grants that involve like City First Enterprises and district. We administrated a couple of grants in the last couple of years, and we are currently administrating the Bridge Fund grant.
Thank you. And the City First Enterprise is also a partner with DSLBD that we have a line of credit program with them. And they work a lot with other lenders and our Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking with the collateral program. So they have a great understanding of both the Bridge Fund specifically, grants in general, and also other types of financing, loans, lines of credit products, and how to stack them all together. So you're in good hands with Viviana. We'll jump back into the content. Today, I encourage you to introduce yourself by chat. Let us know who you are, if you have a business, the business name, how people can reach you. We have quite a few interesting virtual introductions and connections done through our training chats over the last couple of months, so take advantage of that. So as I mentioned today, we're focusing on navigating specifically the Bridge Fund grant. If you joined us for last week or missed the first part of this series with City First Enterprises, we talked generally about grants last week, and that link is available to those who register and also be posted on demand on our YouTube. But today we'll focus in on these aspects of the Bridge Fund grant requirements, and then we'll end talking about where you can find other grants, as well as some upcoming grant and pitch opportunities, and we'll have questions and answers. So it'll take about an hour. So let's kick it off. Take it away, Viviana.
Hi, everyone. So again, let's talk about the Bridge Fund grant. You know, even though it has the same name as the grants provided previously in like different sets, the Bridge Fund grant, it is a new grant. It has different requirements and it has different, you know, eligibility and priority. So even if you applied and were like awarded under the Bridge Fund grant previously, these funding and these criteria are new. So, and I was mentioning before we started this conversation with the DSLBD that the Bridge Fund grant information was previously in the coronavirus website from DMPED. And if you want to redirect clients, friends, other businesses to where is the information, please go to obviously DC. There you can find the information in how to apply for the Bridge Fund grant, the one pager, the eligibility requirements, what type of entity it is funding, and more information about other grants. So we can go to the next page. So we are gonna go pretty fast through the basics for this grant. The grant will be open until February 25 at 5 p.m. So we will cut access to the grant after 5 p.m. It can be a couple of minutes if someone is having the last couple is having some troubles, but usually we allow to 15 max 15-20 minutes after that application. I'm not telling you that apply at the last minute, but in some cases to comply and to have a complete and accurate information, you might want to delay your submitting your application until you have all the correct and complete documentation. And if you have any answer about the eligibility requirements, questions, what information to put, if you have any particular situation that you want to ask, please send us an email prior to February 25 so we actually can answer your questions and you can take that information into account to provide, the most complete, again, complete, accurate, and with all the information that you need. So if we're talking about 25, we want to answer any questions like the 24 or the applications that will be passed through review needed to be submitted. So make sure you are familiar with the form, make sure you enter and verify what information is requested, and to see, to read every single document related to the grant, just to make sure that you have everything in place, everything labeled, everything in a folder for you, make it easy for you. So this grant provides support to retail, restaurant, and entertainment industry. Other industries are not eligible under this particular grant. So we understand that sometimes it gets confusing when we have another industry, like, for example, education or any other type of professional service. Sometimes it's confusing if it is under retail or not. So we will need to, you will need to send us an email, and then we verify the information. We go through the codes for your industry to verify what it falls into. We took, for example, the next codes, or we go directly to DMPED when we still unaware or exactly if we can allocate your particular entity activity in one of these three or not. And that depends of different factors sometimes. So the priority review, this grant, it is trying to provide funds to all the businesses that are under 5 million, equal or under $5 million for 2019, 2020, and 2021. So that means if you have more than 5 million in one of these 3 years, you will be considered ineligible. So the priority review, it is to review the businesses that fall into the 2.5 million category for each year again. So we will make the necessary codes and rearrange the data to kind of have the priority review and assign the funds to that under that criteria. The other criteria is the amount received from PPP. And I just want to be clear that in some cases, we might have to run the database from the SBA for just have validation for your PPP amount. So make sure that you include and you are aware of how much money you received from PPP. The business needs to be an active and operating business in DC with a brick and mortar location and site control of the space, and must have an active business license. So what it means this point, it means that you need to be, if you are incorporated, you need to be active with DCRA. That means you actually can provide the services and you are operating in DC. So even if you are a foreigner entity or foreigner entity, that means that you actually, your legal business address is located in another state. And we're talking about Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and other states, but you have presence in DC, you will be able to apply for this grant. So there is no restriction about it, but you need to be able to generate revenue in DC. We want that you understand that this grant is for locations that have like a brick and mortar location. That means that you actually have a space, a retail space, a restaurant, a venue to be able to provide your services to, the patrons. And what it means to have site control of the space means that you have a current lease that is active for your business or it's on yourself sometimes, and that you are gonna continue to operate on that space, and that you have an active business license under that particular address that is not a home address. For food trucks, caterers, what we mean about brick and mortar location is a little bit different than another businesses. For that, we just need that your certificate of occupancy. It is from a shared commercial or shared commercial private public kitchen. So you actually need to be operating in the district. So for those food trucks that are located, in other, they are renting a space for elaborated products, and they are current parking as well in other states that will not be eligible. Like the license and the certificate of occupancy needs to be in DC. We'll go through the occupancy. Yes, they are different things. So the basics, let's continue with that. So here I listed the link where you can find more information about, like, the eligibility requirements. There also a recording from DMPED about the requirements that you can hear. It is good to, if you are making an application or you have 5 to 10 minutes, go ahead and start to hearing that information. If you don't have too much time to digest, like the one pager, the guide, like in any other document posted there. You can find as well in that second link information about other funding opportunities if you see that your business is not eligible under the Bridge Fund grant. Now, this needs to be really clear for all business owners, and we currently are receiving a lot of questions about the next point. So for sole proprietors, they must be DC residents. So this means that unincorporated entities with only trade name. So that doesn't mean that if you are a sole proprietor under the IRS, that means that you are operating your business as a sole proprietor and you probably have a trade name or you are using your name to do the activity. So sole proprietors must understand that must be DC resident if they are incorporating. That doesn't include sole proprietors like LLCs that are taxed as a sole proprietor. So sole proprietor must be a DC resident even if they have a business in DC, even if they have DC employees. So the legislation is really clear. Sole proprietors must be DC resident. So if you don't have a current ID with DC, you probably need to start taking the steps to at least gather a receipt or a document that you are processing your application. But at the time of the application, you need to be a DC resident. If you're a franchise with multiple locations, you know, or a franchise or with multiple locations, I forgot, maybe I have to change the or, they must be independently owned and operated. So that means they all take their own decisions, like they have a local component that business owners, you know, are individuals, and they take their own decisions. So for example, 7-Elevens are eligible, since like most of the 7-Elevens pay like a franchise, like, you know, they have franchise expenses, but they can take their own like operations and responsibilities under their own entity, and they are formed as their own entity. Also, 30 revenue loss. Do not calculate that amount if you believe that you lose, you were like negatively impacted to coronavirus, then you will need to provide the information that shows your profit and loss income statement, and we will take care of like doing that calculation, since, you know, it's like when a professor asks you, how much should I grade you? You probably we're gonna pick a really good score, but that doesn't mean that that's the actual score. And we do control by other factors, and as well as verify like when you started your revenue, when the business started, etc. So we do have to do some heavy calculation on that, and we want to use the same formula for like the different type of segments that we see, just to be fair to every single applicant. So you don't have to calculate that. Just if you believe that you were negatively impacted, please submit an application. Sometimes we don't know, or sometimes it's you know, higher than we expected. The worst can be ranged between 10K and 100K. That doesn't mean that everyone is gonna get like 10K or 100K. That depends on the total amount of applicants, and it can go up to 100% of core expenses for up to 3 months. So it is important that you calculate your current average cost for the core expenses that are payroll, utilities, rent, and payroll. And when we verify your information, we go and check most of the times to the what it says your profit and loss, to kind of have like you know, a guide if that's actually something that makes sense. So make sure to calculate that. Next one. Now, who is ineligible under this grant? So businesses that receiving an award from the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, and that's federal funding, that's the SBA. There was a web page when you applied for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Do not confuse this one with the Restaurant Bridge Fund grant that it was part of the Bridge Fund. So if you go to that link on the SBA, you can find that information, and then you can go to the second one if you are like, you know, savvy on like, you know, searching data sets. You can actually verify if your business was included or not. If you still have questions, if you received that federal funding or not, we still run your data and exclude those applicants that they are marked on their data set. It is public information, so if you are unaware, you can take a look at that, but we'll still exclude you if we actually find an application that was granted that federal funds. Then the other one is Shelter Venue Operations Grant, the SVOG. So for that one, the information is also public. So you will need to go and verify. There's a short list. We actually, for these two grants, is including businesses, foreigners, and domestic. We don't only run the DC data set, but we also run like the businesses that are incorporated or with legal address in Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. That's more the common like combo that we see. However, final grantees, we still have to, if there is a problem that the sheets from that generated the FOIA request, they are not there. You still need to sign that you didn't receive this two federal funding on top of these grants. So be aware of that. Then Arts and Entertainment Venue Relief Fund. If you apply for this grant, yes, you can apply. However, if you get selected, you will be considered ineligible. So yeah, just to make sure if you don't get that one, you will not be excluded. But if you receive that grant, then we will exclude you from the application. So apply if you provided an application for that. Now, home-based entities, and I think I saw a question about that on the top. There are a lot of questions, so I'm not so sure if I'm taking a look to all of them. But home-based businesses are not able to operate from a home address. If you are currently operating from like a retail space, a commercial space, then you will need to actually contact DCRA and update that business license, since you cannot use a business license with an EHOP or HOP in like the commercial space. So it's where you actually provide the service. So make sure that your license, it is not under those two categories. It needs to be a certificate of occupancy, and sometimes your license lists the name of that. We do have the ability to go in when your name, if we have your name, we can do wonders for verification. So in the case that we have seen their clients like cut their license or they don't provide certain information, we still can match that parts of the information or only with your business name to verify your certificates of like occupancy of license. But it's better to be upfront and provide the current one, and that is on the correct address. Ineligible businesses provided in the list. Yes, there is an eligible list that is a little bit more clear than previous grants. It is not an exhaustive list, so if you have questions, you can ask. Child development centers, unfortunately, are not eligible since they are not considered under these three industries. And the three industries, again, is retail, and it is, oh, wait a second. No, that's considered a good. Let me take a look at that. It's just gonna take a second in the questions. But no, they are not. But let me give you a valid reason for that question from Nivea. So let's go to the next slide. So here are the rules of thumb for submitting applications, right? One application per entity with a unique EIN. If you have multiple locations under your business, or you need to provide information from all locations, you will need to provide it under one application. So that includes like if you have an entity with one EIN, but you have multiple locations, we are looking for the information for that entity. So that means if my entity, let's call it ABC Inc., has two different locations, yes, I need to include a combined profit and loss for that two locations. And then, when you list the locations that you're operating, you can add the one that you're prioritize, like funding. You can list legal address and, another address for operations. But the use of funds can be used for both. There is no restriction about that. But yes, you need to provide combined because we're asking information for the entity, not for one location under an entity. We will review only submitted applications, so make sure you check your folders to locate the automatic response. When you click, we are gonna see how it looks, that information at the end. So next one. Again, in the rules of thumb for submitting applications, if I provided multiple applications, please consider that each application are considered final In case if you provide multiple ones because you had mistakes in the previous ones, we will accept the last version of the application received. So we have seen in the past clients that provided like a business license clearance and other information in one, and then in another application, we see like different documents or incorrect documents. So when we review the information, you maybe the reviewer number one has like the information for one application, and a reviewer number two, let's call it like that name because I don't have their names currently. They have another application from the same case, so that it will try to avoid any issues or any discrepancies in your applications. So I will rather go and submit, and rather submit a new application. Again. So if I were you, if I noticed that an application was provided with incorrect information or missing documents, duplicated documents, I will submit a new application, and again, signing that, you know, all the information is accurate, and then we will be able to delete the previous one or mark it as a duplicate, incorrect duplicate, and then just to focus in the last accepted and last provided application. So if you have that problem, please email us, and we'll be able to make sure that we are selecting the correct application. Now, what if I provided an incorrect document? Again, you have to submit another application. You know, we cannot accept documents. It will be not fair accepting documents for an applicant and for another applicant not. It is also not fair for applicants submitting like documents to, you know, not our email account, but as well to other like you know, entities that they think that they might help in their case. Like we actually want to receive the information through the portal, and not that the information of the documents get lost, like, you know, in the email account of like you know, in our email account or in any other email account that, you know, you're reaching out. So make sure to send us an email. Hey, I had a mistake. I just need to apply again, and we will make sure that we are on the same page and we delete the incorrect application. It doesn't mean, don't worry about lose your place, because there is not such a thing. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you provide your application the first day that we open or the last day. We rearrange the data according to the priorities. So you better provide a complete application than an incomplete application, because if we review your application, if you're still missing a document, we might not get to your number again. So sometimes we ask for missing documents, but it's when we are still trying to get more grantees, or we need to come back to some cases that have the less amount of missing documents, or just to ask if we gathered your documents and we might have to prioritize if you want like a waiting list. But you're requesting your information doesn't mean that we are gonna grant you, we're gonna give you funds, and it doesn't mean that we are gonna actually ask you for the information. Again, all applications are final, so make sure that you review your application and that everything that you want to submit is the information that you want us to see. So if you're providing information on the data and it's incorrect, if you added on revenue 10 millions, just make sure that, you know, that information itself will impact your application. So next one. So what I do if I encountered an error, and we're gonna go see the application, a couple of things of them, the application. But if I encountered an error, so make sure you understand that we make sure that a form it is working, and then we are receiving responses. We do, we do go and check and verify that the form it is currently like working as supposed to be. Most of the errors occur during the following reasons. It usually is at the end of the applicant. So login information was not safe, and that occurs when, maybe I was filling out and, my internet was not working, or I spent too much time on one page, didn't update information, didn't save. So make sure that you save periodically. And as a tip, create a login at the beginning, save the login information. If you can retrieve the username, I think, in the password. However, if you cannot remember both of them, then it is impossible for us to do anything else. But the other thing that you will need to do in those cases is clean cache, clean cookies, like maybe use another browser and create another login. That needs to be under another email account if that occurs, but that's really rare. So create a login since the beginning and start to type, start to save. If it doesn't save, log out again and log in to see what you have completed. So don't be afraid of losing information, because if it doesn't save means that it is not there. You cannot recover the information. So just if you have persistent problems, make sure to check which browser you're using. There is not a recommended browser that we know that it is more effective using or filling out this form. So it depends of your configurations. As well, sometimes they have an error that shows that your business, your files are too big. And in those cases, we advise to provide a PDF or like to zip your file. And that usually occurs with your lease agreement and tax documents. And that's it, because profit and loss, like we actually want to see is like monthly profit and loss and income statements with a total at the end. So that can be provided in a couple of pages. If it's not possible to provide that, then you have to zip your files. Next one. Oh, no, wait 2 seconds. There is also at the end of the slide, if it shows during your application your business isn't eligible for this program, that actually is not an error. That actually is true. That means that if you encounter that, it's because your business is not eligible. So take a look at the answers that you provided and verify, oh, that's true, then, I will stop the application here. So next one. So preparing documents before submission. And as we mentioned it before, and I just go really fast to this since we already talked about these issues in our last meeting. So if I don't have a EIN letter, please provide, your tax documents, but make sure that it has your complete legal name. Sometimes under taxes, we even see like a trade name or like the name of the sole proprietor, but a social security number. So just make sure that you are actually inputting your EIN number there, and that's the complete legal name that you're currently having. If you are missing the IRS letter, do not attach W-9s. W-9s do not provide us any information about your EIN number. So at least we will need the tax documents. As well, make sure if you are a sole proprietor to understand that your legal name is equal to your legal entity name. So when you're filling the application, please provide your legal name under legal entity name. And for the incorporated entities with a structure, they have a registration with DCRA. They provide the legal entity name, not the train name. The train name is not a legal name. So for active business license, verify the dates, verify that it's under the legal entity name, that has the same business address, that it has your certificate of occupancy, that has your lease agreement or your deed, and that you provide or you have an ABRA license already if you need one, if applicable. So if your active license says HOP or HOP, so that's home occupancy permit or electronic home occupancy permit, that means that it's a home base and you will be rejected. So just take a look at your license and make sure that it's under occupancy permit. If it doesn't have anything, we will be able to locate for what occupancy it is linked that business address. Because you always have to list an address to be able to, pull one business license. Make sure that you're not providing a professional business license. A professional services are not included on this grant. So also review your status with the CRA, even though you have like everything on paper, but if you miss the biannual reports and you are considered a revoked entity, you cannot actually use your active business license since you are declared in I have frozen this word, that you cannot actually operate in the district, even if you have a business license and everything in place. You can verify that in Corp Online, or if you have an accountant, just ask that, make sure that you are current on your reports with DCR rate. So next one. Again, your certificate of occupancy, just verify that the address is the same in your rental agreement or deed. And is under the business license. In the cases for some of you that they are located in like a corner with two different streets, and is being the occupancy permit, it is under one of the doors but not under the other one, but it's the same space. Just highlight in your lease agreement the two exits so we can verify that, or just write with a pen like, oh, this is the other street, the other entry. So then we can go and Google that information and verify, oh, like it has actually the same address, it's just another door. Under lease or deed, it is a good idea to highlight your landlord's name, address, the rent amount, your entity name or your name in the case that you sign the lease or deed agreement under an owner, but not did a change to the entity name as you're supposed to do. So if that's the case, if you don't have an updated lease or updated lease under your entity name, just make sure that updated. If you are a sole proprietor and you have a deed, that will be okay. But if you have an entity and then the deed, it is under you. If you are subleasing, please provide that subleasing agreement between you and your entity. So make sure to be clear on that one. For clean scan certificates, I'm putting 2 days here as a reference. So for this is the clean certificates from OTR and only OTR. Needs to be under your legal address, your legal name, not your trade name. Again, and is to be provided within 90 days. So that means it's not older than October 26 or November 27, depending on what day you are providing the application. But usually we use the cut date on the first day, that is October 26. So we will take that or mark it as incorrect document provided if it is prior to that day, October 26. ID for sole proprietors need to be DC resident. If you upload a password and other ID picture with no address, we will ask you to provide later an ID with your address so we can verify that information. You know, payroll roster for employees, just don't provide tax information. Next one. Yeah, we will answer those questions like at the end. For the application form, so start to looking like this. You know, some of the questions, I'm just gonna put here some of the questions. The application is a little bit large to see like within an hour. So we're just gonna go to the questions that are more important. So for us to, you want to consider prior to submitting your application, because you might have to request, you know, additional information to get accounted, or might want to verify the numbers or verify the information, or start to having like a folder in your computer or your work phone or any other device to start like gathering all the documents that you will need to apply. So did your business apply for the arts and entertainment venue? So yes, no. So if you didn't apply, that's fine, just select no. Did your business receive a paid protection program loan? So that's PPP. Just the day that you are awarded. So if you receive it like 2 PPPs, just write the first date. If you, how you use the award, that's only for us to recollect that information. That will not impact your application amount or award. What is the total award amount? That will do impact, but we'll still have to verify that with public records, and we want the total amount. So if you receive a 2 PPP, just include the total for that. Someone asked via email if, oh, we were forgiven like this amount, and we are not asking about how much of the PPP was, you know, already taken out. So we just want to know the total amount that you receive it. So do not rest any funds to the amount of PPP received. Again, next one. Then application form. So we are asking about an estimate or back rent due between April 2020 through December 31st, 2021. So if you have a current statement on January and February, please make sure that you are only counting that period past due. The other thing is that rent due is not always the same for every single business. So and that might have, you might have to ask, or might have to verify the documents that you have received from your landlord, because in not all the cases a quantity can be included as a back rent, as a past due. So you need to be aware of what type of agreement you have with your landlord. There are multiple types to deal with amount that they were due. So if it falls under past due rent due, then you will be able to add it. For some other type of arrangements, you might not be able to count that information as, you know, that amount as a past due, since you already entered into an agreement with your landlord. So it's up to you to verify with your landlord if it can be counted as you know, amount due. You will need to provide like an affidavit if selected. And if selected, we will see what it requires the subgrantee agreement to provide any type of guidance that, you know, will make you gather the information that the district needs to gather for us to be able to, you know, verify how much of those funds can be used for back rent. So currently it states that you must use 50% of the grant on back rent if you own back rent. But if you don't, or if you own more, if you want to provide more funds to that one, you can as well do it. Just the minimum will be 50% of your total grant if you have, you know, that past due. So the other thing that you need to consider under this is that this information will not impact the amount of work that you are receiving or the priority. The priority, it is linked to if you receive a PPP and you are under 2.5 million. So this information will not impact the award or if we need to prioritize. So multiple locations, again, one application under multiple, one EIN, one business with one EIN. If it has multiple locations, then you have to mark yes. If you have separate EIN numbers but belong to the same business owner, so you need to list the EIN numbers there, and it can be up to 5. So if I'm owner of 5 restaurants, I will have to link my numbers there. And even if I link, like, we can run the informations related to, we use a lot of different variables to understand if your business needs to be included in a set or not. So next one. Yes, you can use more than 50% if you own like more back rent. So the minimum is 50%. So what happened is that this grant, was considering, a main disbursement for towards paying back rents. That's why it's the minimum of 50%. But the district made the decision that they also can cover other expenses. So that's why that's a minimum over there. But you can provide more. So in the application, so another common question is, what's my board? Actually, it is linked in the form. You can click on the link and you will have to put your address, and it shows you, you click on the map once it gives you a color, and it shows you on the left side if it is Ward 2, Ward 5, Ward 6, 7, 8, name it. So you will be able to find that information. Is your business a foreigner entity or domestic entity? You should probably know that information, but if not, you can search at workonlinepc.com. And then I think that's it. And then I will verify that in a second. And then you can see how you are registered, but it doesn't impact if you get awarded or not. For other grants in the past, we only consider domestic entities. For this one, there is no distinction. So here, if you actually are a consultant and you are trying to provide, or a TA provider, and you want to provide an application under a business owner, it doesn't matter how hard it can be for a business owner to answer the phone, answer emails, etc., etc. Make sure that you add the owner contact information. And by owner contact information, if you have multiple owners, please list the principal owner, because we need to oh my God, sorry, my boss. So we need to make sure that we add the information of the principal owner, and we provide the phone number and email address, because he will be in charge if received that the information if we receive the sovereignty agreement, if it is awarded, he will need to sign within certain time of certain time. And for verify some information for the owner, we will need to contact them. Also, make sure that if you're helping someone, they understand that they are responsible. They are the responsible party for receiving the grant. So they should be we should be able to contact them if there's any discrepancy, or if there is like an award for them, to kind of prevent like any issue. We also need the information for like submit like, a 1099 in case that gets awarded next year. So it's really important to verify the phone numbers and the email address. Sometimes they included an incorrect email address, and we send like a request of missing documents if it's necessary, and sometimes they don't get back to us. So in March, just make sure to review your email frequently. If that's the case, we usually give like only 3 business days. If we have to close the gap, we give 24 hours, and we call. So sometimes we text. So that's why important you provide a cell phone number instead of like a general like you know, names. Sometimes we call restaurants and we get someone in staff that is pretty efficient, takes our information, provides information, sometimes not. And, you know, just to make sure that provide the complete and correct information for every single thing. Next one. So under demographic information, this will not impact, no, as a recipient of the Bridgepoint program. This information will not be distributed. So we do have to share the information with the district. We do share information about, you know, the mix, but we don't provide your name or like the owner name. So just make sure that, you know, if you have a want to provide the information, you can do it. You can also select like, I prefer not to disclose the information, but it does help us to understand to what segment of the population, you know, the awards are going, like who is requesting the awards. And this will not be in any type of calculation or criteria for selecting grantees or provide grants. So we definitely, when we analyze it, when we review the data, we only took segments of the application that we need to deal with. Then the next one is if your business is certified business entity, a CBE, you can click on the link and verify. You can actually download the whole, you know, Excel sheet with all of them and just type your business day. It doesn't appear that it's not. If you never apply for that, it is not. So just make sure to review that so you have the answer. So next one. So for the part where we are asking about the financials, the documents, a really good tip is to name the files. Sometimes I notice that, you know, applicants submitted a certificate of occupancy twice, or a clean hands twice, and taxes twice, or the taxes for another year that it was not requested, or, you know, it's just things happen. And when you verify the information at the end, it is not really a fast way to verify the documents that you attach it. So make sure that, you know, as an advice, just create a folder, put your document there and label them, and make sure that you have, you know, you can add also, you know, in your name file the date, so you know for what, you know, what attachment needs to go where. So if you said upload that business license, in my file says like clean hands, I know that I'm missing business license at the end. So that's a good tip. Just that prevents to provide incorrect files or duplicates. Sometimes we see the same image, like one image called like 1C, 2, 3B, like F, and that same page is provided all of them. So we know that we didn't receive like documents. We do open them, but just make sure that, you know, verify that the information is there. We prefer PDFs because if you provide an image, sometimes it doesn't open according to the format that you're using. We can review images, but not all of them. So just make sure that if you know, you have the possibility to change it to PDF, that's better. Make sure that they are not password protected, especially with taxes. And if you're having trouble submitting, just go by the rule of 35 MB. That's a safe number. So you might have to adjust your file. Then income statements, monthly income statements, and profit and loss. We prefer like per year, where it shows like the month, January, February, March, and then totals, and then amounts. So that's easy to verify. That's easy to review. And, you know, otherwise, that's fine. But if there are any inconsistency with the numbers, like sometimes instead of just cutting the step, they show like, and put the information there, you will receive like a file with a bunch of like pages. So if you have the possibility to provide a monthly income statement and profit and loss together per year on monthly basis and totals, please provide that. You can only attach one file, so make sure to provide all of them in one file. If you cannot, you can zip. However, just make sure it doesn't go under like more than 35 MB. Next one. Oh no, wait a second. Uh, for the previous one, on their current payroll roster, it includes, do not include business owner on the numbers that you need to provide. So it does say total number of current active full-time DC resident employees. And then, but every single question that we ask on the employees, we ask about active full-time employees, just to make sure that you understand that and you add that information. Do not include payroll. If you have someone, more or less, I will answer a couple questions later. But if you see that, you don't have current employees because you are, working there and you have none of them, you can actually add 000 there, and it will not create an error. And you will not be ineligible for that. Just write on your, if you have that problem, just write on your on the top of your profit monthly, like profit and loss income statement. Currently don't have employees, or you probably provided as a negative number under there if you're not paying yourself. Well, no, actually no, like a 0, then you might have to mark up. My salary is this, but I haven't been able to, pay myself. There is under that, there is that you can attach a payroll summary. If you have 0 employees, you still can put your name, but just mark owner, and how much you get paid monthly. But you currently haven't paid monthly because of coronavirus. And it has been like, you are not able to afford your salary. So just do that. Doesn't mean that we're going to take that amount, but for verification, and it will be good to know why you don't have 0 there. So next one. So taxes, again, make sure no password protected, because otherwise we mark as missing document. We don't know what's there. All pages, we don't want to see only one pages of their taxes. We actually want to see the whole thing. And in some cases, we do review the 30, 60 pages that you have there, just because we want to verify a couple of things. Then on their revenue, yes, this is different than another grants when we ask like quarterly information. We actually need to ask for monthly financials for the calculations on this one. So you actually need to provide January 2029 revenue, if applicable, if not 0. The instructions are at the top, and you fill everything there. If you see that creates a problem, like at the end of the calculation, just cut the decimals. Do not you can round to the following like dollar amount, but don't round by $500 or $1,000. That I have seen it all. So just make sure to cut the decimals. Don't put anything, just put the number. If you just put the number 1002, 1003, 1004, 3000, like you will be fine. Next one.
I'm going to pause for a quick second just to share that I know we're at the original hour mark. We have a couple of really great slides coming up to wrap up this section about application form, and then we'll have an update and go into Q&A. If you're not able to stay, know that we'll send you a link to the recording as well as the slides and a copy of the chat by email. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And we're about to finish. So bear with us for a second if you can. So monthly expenses, we also ask for monthly expenses. So for this one, you need to provide like an average on rent, mortgage expenses. That includes everything. So this grant, it does not only provide like the base rent, it does provide like everything else, like and other expenses under rent you consider under your lease agreement. Utility expenses and average, payroll expenses as well. And it has a total that will help us actually to determine your grant price. Do not inflate that one, because we take a look and we have to adjust your numbers. So you better go with the amounts. Now, just to consider next one, please. So let's consider that the application form actually requests that you certify the following information. So that you understand that not all businesses will be funded through this program. That means if you submit an application, I mean, we're not going to give you the money just because of that. You actually need to meet the requirements. And then the second one is that, you know, the information submitted is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, or based on your knowledge in this case. So just make sure that, you know, if not unsure that you receive it federal funding or SBA fund information, just ask us. We can run it for you as well. But if you are sure that you receive it, and worst case scenario, you get these funds, if it comes an audit, it's on you. So make sure if you have that question, just ask us. But you know, you are signing after like agreements that you actually are operating, that actually are working, etc., etc. And then we also can take the grant at any time. So if we see if you don't meet, you know, any, or if you don't meet the minimum requirements for after we select you, we provide the funds. If you are not able to provide the information requested in your subgrant tag agreement, we do send you a notification that, you know, we take the grant and we'll distribute the funds. Then the last one is that, you know, so I acknowledge the full approval for this grant program solely depending on providing any and all additional information necessary to approve my application for grant funding to City First Enterprises as needed or requested. So if there is something that is odd on your application, we might ask for additional documents. That doesn't mean that we are gonna go to all the applications that miss it to provide correct documents. That means that we are gonna go and we're able to request additional documents to verify something like business ownership, like if you know, there are problems with your numbers, we might request some other documents. Yeah, but you know, you just remember, provided a complete application, that's your final application, and we go on that. Sadly, I have seen in other grants that sometimes they provide, you know, different numbers that are profit and loss. So you make sure that you have the profit and loss when you're filling the application, so it matches. And then the following. The next one. Okay, so here occur a lot of like sad issues here is that you fill out the form and here at the top says, please review response and sign, and please take a picture, PDF of this and say, I submitted. And it does say there, you must sign at the bottom of this page and click the submit sign response button to complete your sign and response. Think about the next example. So let's say that you are applying for a job and you have everything. You are the perfect candidate. You know the company and you have experience and everything is there. But you didn't click send to the email. You didn't submit your application. Nobody is going to contact you. Nobody is going to give you the job. You need to sign the application and you need to click. You're providing application email. You need to click send for the HR department, like receives the email with your documents. So this is the same. If you already did all the job, just make sure to click in your submitted application. In an error, of course, let us know and we can tell you. But most of the cases, if an error occurred, is because, you know, your application was not recorded properly, that you had probably an issue with the browser, an issue with your internet or connectivity. Then usually you can go back and click again. That doesn't work. Like you might have to, you know, start again or start where you left, where your form was safe, and then complete. Now we can check the next one. Next slide. So you need to go at the end, and there's a part that says, please sign here. Sadly enough, I have seen some people send us, oh, we apply, look at it. It's like, well, it doesn't show that you actually sign and you click. So make sure that you sign, fill out the information at the bottom. So for example, I put your name is A, your initials A, your email address, and I put Viviana at cfnenterprises.org. And then it still says that it's an incomplete response. So you need to click, and I put 3 arrows there, submit, sign, and response. When you click on that, then we can go to the next slide. It will appear this message. Thank you for submitting your application for the Bridge Fund. If you receive that, you're good. Now, if it says, sorry, there seems to be a problem, then you're still good if you receive it. Thank you for submitting an application. So when I said, like, sorry, seems to be a problem. So once you submit the application and it pops this information, you will receive an email immediately, like in a minute. And the information say, thank you for submitting your application, etc. And then click here for, sign an electronic signing. So if you click there, and if show, sorry, there's just to be a problem, that means that there's to be a problem for the e-signature record. That doesn't mean that you didn't submit your application. You already signed it. So you are good. And then you will receive a second email that is for you to be able to go and print a summary of your application. So if you receive any of those 2 emails that telling you that you will need to e-sign something, e-sign the form that your application already was received and you need to e-sign, or that you already submit an application and then you can pull your form, you are good. So checking out all your boxes and your in your emails, like your spam and other folders that you receive that information. If not, just please send us an email and we can just forward the information. If you didn't receive anything, probably was not submitted, so please just go ahead and check with us. And yes, I'm done at this point. That was all.
Thanks, Viviana. That was great, both for the specificity of what the requirements are, but to see it live, to see the actual forms and hear some of the common mistakes. And I think a lot of them group into, if you give yourself the time to just methodically and at a solid pace, you won't forget to sign, you won't forget to add those extra documents.
Yep.
But these are great tips, things that as you were going through, I'm as a reviewer and a funder myself, I was seeing lots of similar things I've seen in other grants. So I think this is a great compliment to the general guidance that DMPED gave for their information sessions. This is like the deeper dive. So I'm so glad you did this. It's great timing since the grant just opened last Monday. It's a chance to get on top of this. I'm going to do a quick overview of some other upcoming grants and pitch opportunities, and then we're going to dive into all the questions and answers. So keep them coming in the chat. You can also raise your hand. We can have you unmute when the time comes to do that. Let's see. So let's get into, this is how to reach Viviana. Although she shared her direct email, I think if you have a question about the Bridge Fund, it's most effective to email it directly to the Bridge Fund at cfenterprises.org, because the whole team will be responding to those. Is that right, Viviana?
Yeah, sometimes we have more than one staff depending on the volume. We usually answer within 25 hours. Like sometimes we answer immediately.
That is
Good for
amazing.
you.
That's great.
Yeah, however, just make sure that the also staff also likes to take Sunday off sometimes. So
So,
make sure that, yeah, just provide a Friday, just like you probably receive the answer on Monday at the latest. Like if you provide a really complicated questions, we might have to think about it and bring it up to the district or verify a couple of things with other, the requirements. But it hits some questions. It does hit okay, how legislation was passed and this is possible or not. So we are not only answering the emails, we also have to interpret what it says the law, and sometimes it is not even us, so we have to
right.
just verify that information. Usually when we say no, if then turns to be yes, then we run to the client and it's like, Actually, it means yes, but we do those changes. Yeah, just make sure to email the bridge fund. Use the bridge fund email, because if you send it to me or my coworkers, like, we have a different pace of answering our personal like mail. And sometimes we usually, what we do is that we don't answer, we just forward to the bridge fund, and bridge fund emails the one that answer the questions. And also because it is like records, so we need to keep records of all interactions related to the bridge fund, so they will go in place on the correct email for answers. If you have questions about the bridge fund, about applications, it's us the ones that you need to email. If you provide to another entity, another government entity, Main Street is doing a great job, like trying to serve like their clients as well. But you can send them your questions, but make sure to at least see us if you have a concern about like the application, because we can sometimes like provide a faster answer, but also, I mean, it causes less delay. In terms of like, if I submit another application, I have like an eligibility requirement, like question. Sometimes it's faster if you actually include the general email.
So I dropped that. It'll be in the slides, of course, when we send them out, but it's also in the chat, which we'll be sharing as well.
Yeah, it's under there.
So I'm going to do a quick overview in case people have to jump off of some upcoming training, pitch, and grant opportunities, and then we'll do a dive into both the questions that have been coming in through the chat as well as people who are raising their hands. Oops. So our next Monday is also City First Enterprises. In a couple of weeks, on February 28th at 2 p.m. City First Enterprises, in addition to managing the grant applications for this particular grant, they also have loan products, lines of credit supported by DSLBD, and they work with some of our local partners, including the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, DSB, with their collateral program. So on the 28th, we'll go through some of the products that both CFE and DSB offer and how you can stack them together. So please join us on the 28th at 2 p.m. for the next Mondays. As promised, this is one of many grants that are out there. This slide that you'll get by email will walk you through how to find other grants that are out there through obviously DC. All the DC government grants related to businesses are posted there. The DC Business Toolkit will share those, as well as grants available through other private sources, and the federal government is posted through the DC Business Toolkit. You can check us out at Find Fundy DC Business Toolkit. The DC Women's Business Center has an awesome list of grants available for women-based businesses, women-owned businesses. And then finally, grants are very popular, but beyond grants, you might need financing, loans, lines of credit, and other products to support you. And there's information on the toolkit as well, how to navigate those financing options. Again, be sure to sign up for our DC Business Funding Alert through District Capitalize. If you'd like up-to-date information as some of these and other opportunities come online, we will email them to you. We have a couple of upcoming pitch related products of programs that are coming out. If you're located in Ward 7 and 8, we are just opening up our 2022 Dream Pitch program, which does have a stipend at the end of the multi-week training accelerator. So we have an information session tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll have another one in the coming weeks. Check us out on Eventbrite to sign up for that. If you are a returning citizen or otherwise justice exposed, we have an accelerator program called Reaspire that runs for a little bit longer. It runs through the summer, and that also ends in a pitch competition where there is a financial stipend for the winners. So we encourage you to check out our Reaspire information sessions. There are quite a few coming up in February listed here, and be sure to sign up at our Eventbrite for those. So let's deep dive into the questions. The first one comes in from Sharon, who asked, can another shared business partner with a business at a brick and mortar location, I hope I'm getting your question right, and the CFO, such as a sublease? So can a sublease, and Sharon, if you're still on the line, if you could clarify, come off mute and clarify your question.
Sure. Hi, I'm sorry,
Hi.
typing and working and listening. Thank you guys so much for the detailed information that you provided. And so I have a number of clients, some that fit very squarely in what you've offered, but then I do have a couple of clients that sublease from a business that has a brick and mortar location and a CFO. And they might not have obtained their own CFO, or their name might not be on the CFO. So two people in a dress shop per se. So I know that with the restaurants, you're allowing, say, food truck owners or shared, if someone is sharing kitchen space to apply. Does that same sharing of space, is that allowed for other retailers?
Yeah, so for example, convenience stores with like you know, I have a seen pupusas like just like carry out things like that. Yes, as long as they have the individual business license, they are under like they are incorporated, they are the sole proprietor. Like there is different like structures they can apply. They need to apply with their own numbers, of course, their own licensing. The CFO can be shared. We see the same CFO information for like kitchen, like in any other like commercial kitchens around, but we see that for like some businesses, but we do need to see like the business license. A general business license they might not do. So if they have more than one business license, provide all the business license, like 1 and 2 under the same attachment. They do need to have a lease agreement. And that is the share, that's the same for like let's put it like a mix of like coffee shop, art shop that is operating under the current space. This is not like pop-up businesses. Pop-up businesses are not considered on this grant. They cannot have, and they really they don't have usually they don't have a lease agreement, and they do not have a business license for that particular location. So what they need to provide is like a CFO under the space that are using. That CFO number, it is linked to the business license, and that it might be shared with other business licenses, but they need to provide a document. And the information that the document needs to be displayed already in the premises, so they should be able to go and take a picture of the document. The same for shared kitchens. Yep.
I think that, thank you for that. I think that, oh, sorry, Sharon. Yes. I think the next question rolls into, you had just addressed it, but I'll ask it all the same. What if your certificate of occupancy address is different from the address on the basic business license? They should be the same for the grant.
Yeah.
If they should be the same in general, but specifically for the grant.
You technically cannot operate with that business license, so you have to request a new business license from the district.
Okay, and the next question, what if your business operates, oh, you also addressed as well, a pop-up model using, I think you should clarify, pop-up models using food services. So you mentioned that
No.
pop-ups are not eligible for
So
this,
any
right?
retail food pop-up, like no. So unfortunately, it's ineligible.
And then if the business opened during the pandemic in 2020, is it eligible?
Yes, there is no restriction about that. They need to be operating in like 2021. We do have, I mean, there is no restriction of who cannot operate. I mean, we'll process like all the all the documents, but the cuts are gonna be done like business open 2022, they'll be excluded, totally excluded. Business 2021, like we do need at least a couple months to be able to run and to prove that actually they have a revenue loss of 30%. So it depends when they open and they started to generate revenue. Just make sure that you understand the difference between like a registration with DCR rate and you actually receive it like the business license and you are legally able to operate in district. And I'm talking about that since a lot of people say like, I opened 2019, like that's when I registered with DCR rate. So, but that doesn't mean that you actually was able to generate revenue at that time. So we don't go by the DCR rate like date. We go by the first business license found on public records.
So the business is able to, if they open during 2020, the business is able to apply, but they still have to be able to show that they've had 30% revenue loss?
Yes, because that's one of the requirements.
Even
Someone
if they
jump back.
open,
Oh, if you could drop it in the chat, please.
okay.
So
Thank you.
if they
Just-
open it during the pandemic, that's fine. I mean, we are in 2022. Unfortunately, this pandemic has taken forever. So,
Will it
yeah,
end?
we will need at least like 6 months of revenue to be able to calculate, like, not so efficient, but at least to be able to do a calculation. So, yes. So if you open and operate and generate revenue in 2020, yeah, you're good.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I just want, I'll go with the flow as people ask in case they're trying. Some people are hanging on for their question to be asked, but we will try to get to all
Yes.
the questions. And if for some reason we can't stay on to get through all the questions, I'll share them if it's okay with you, Bibiana, share it with you
Mhm.
and share the responses back with the email when we send out the slides and the links. But I think we'll be able to, a lot of them are very similar, so I think we should be able to cover most of them. So keep them coming in the chat, or at this point, you can also just raise your hand and we'll address the raised hands as well in the order that they came in.
Oh, by
Let's
the way,
see.
yeah, I have seen one about the tax returns. If your business hasn't filed for 2021, that's okay. If you can provide the previous ones. If it was not operating at that time, you don't have, like, for example, 2019 tax, you don't have to submit. But we will mark if something is missing according to the date that you generated revenue. And that doesn't mean registration. That means when you are operating revenue again.
Okay.
So that
I
will be
just
some
want not to hit what they call the phrase, hit the horse, dead horse. I forgot what the phrase is. But just to clarify, there are three things. There's when you're incorporated with DCRA, that's Corp Online. When you got licensed, that's when you got your basic business license, and some have different endorsements like restaurants, et cetera. And then that you're actually operating and have expenses as well as losses. So it's those three things. So I do see a lot of people come in, they get incorporated 1 year, but they don't actually get licensed till later. And
Yes.
just to be clear, if you are operating a business in the district, whether or not you made even $1, you need to be licensed. For this and for other reasons, you need to be licensed. So just to underscore that. Is credit a factor in the application process? I don't think so, but I wanted to ask
Well,
that.
Is credit? No.
No, okay. And if the business is owned by two, one is a DC resident and the other person is not, is that okay?
So it is, that's totally fine. So when I was talking, it's like sole proprietors needs to be DC resident. If you have multiple owners, that's fine. If it is an unincorporated partnership with a trade name, yes, the two of them need to be DC residents. But those cases are like rare in the city.
Okay, great. And this question came from someone who operated a brick and mortar in 2019, 20, and 21. They moved to a new location and had to change the license to the new brick and mortar location last month. Are they eligible?
Yes, because they, at the time of the application, they have a business license on their current location that it is like, a brick and mortgage location. So yes.
Okay, great. I heard this in the presentation, but I just wanted to circle back to the two questions related to child care development centers and home daycares. They
Oh
are
yeah, those are
ineligible.
ineligible.
Okay. And the next question came in, our type of business is not on the list of type of businesses. I think the person's referring to the eligible business list that DMPED published. Can funds be used for training new employees? I think that is two different questions. So if their business is not on the eligible list of businesses, they are not eligible to apply.
So this is there's not a complete list. So for example, for eligible business types, they need to fall in these three industries. If it's not, then it is not. There's some for entertainment, for example, like the district has like list, like, and when they want to fund, because the entertainment industry is huge, they want to fund like usually venues. So that's why the list is included, is not including like entertainment, like sporting businesses. There is an extensive list of what it means that. But for example, for retail, sometimes it is not so clear sometimes. So you will need to ask, and we will need to verify a couple of things. And then if you're retail, but you just don't lease the space, don't have a current lease, don't have a COO, then will be not. Pop-ups as well, not. Anything related with construction, real estate, consulting, professional services is out. And auto, bed and breakfast in hotels, like the hotel industry as well is out. Financial institutions out, like seasonal businesses, home-based businesses. So for food, you will not see only the small businesses that are under the cottage law. So those are not considered, since they need to be operating from like public yeah, like a public kitchen, like, and so on. So just make sure to review that. And if you don't see it there, just ask us. But usually when you say education, that's a no. Yep. So
And I think based on the three larger industry categories, restaurant, retail, and entertainment, it sounds like this next question is a no. But if the business sells DNA tests, drug screening, DDOT, which is the Department of Transportation exams, taxi cab exams, driver exams, would they be eligible? It sounds like they're a service business.
so drivers, so said that's education, that would be not. For the others, I don't think it is able to include. We have to review. There are some federal guidelines for what funds can be provided according to the mix of funds that are using. So there are some restrictions of certain categories that it was not advertised, just because the number of applicants for those are like really reduced. So just send us an email and we will verify that with the district.
Oh, because the email at the bridge fund at cfenterprises.org.
Mm-hmm.
Great, okay. Now, this question is about submission procedure, and specifically, should their attachments be labeled and uploaded separately, or could they be combined as one attachment?
If you see an application asks for a business license, attached business license, one file. If you have multiple business license, like for example, if you are like I don't know, like a mix between like a coffee shop, like deli, or another type of mix that still falls in the category, yeah, you might have to provide the business license.
Okay, and that
But
goes into your
yeah,
reading questions as they come, and that rolls into the next question.
yeah, if you have one business with like an EIN number, you have two different locations. You want to consider that you're going to spend the funds for those, but you're still the same entity with one EIN. You might want to provide the two business license there, even as required only one. Yeah, that will be it.
Okay, and I see this next question ties into that as well. Do mixed-use development projects qualify as eligible, for example, a housing project? Or do pop-up retail businesses function under the umbrella of let's take this one by one. So do mixed-use housing projects qualify?
No. So when
No.
you're talking about umbrella, and I asked these clients how they understand that, because you cannot work on the umbrella of another entity under the business license of one entity. It needs to be their own entity with a business license, own lease, and if you don't meet the requirements, you cannot apply it with the umbrella of like another.
Yeah, I need to explore this, but just as general guidance, each business should have its own license. There's some exceptions for one-time special use of private or public space for a pop-up, but you should all have your own licenses, and not just for grants, for just your own security and insurance reasons, you should have your own license.
Yeah, that umbrella thing doesn't really exist.
Yeah, people do it, but it's not, no, it's a no.
It's not a thing.
Just because it's done does not mean it's allowed.
So if you have problems with that, or figure out how to fix and how to go around that, just email the district.
Email the bridge, okay. Oh, the district, oh, okay. This question is about rent. What if you don't have any back rent? How would this
That doesn't
impact
matter.
the award? You don't have to have, it's one of the
Doesn't
categories,
matter.
but it's not required to be back rent used.
So it doesn't matter like the amount of
Okay.
back rent too, like it does not enter into the core calculations. It hasn't been considered at this point, so it will not impact. I mean, if you have it or not, that's not going to change what you have to the right there.
Gotcha. Okay. And can you, oh, this is about scoring. So this scoring is not, you're checked for eligibility, but does it receive a score?
Yes and no. So, I mean, in a simplified version that we want to, I guess, answer that question will be that it does have two prioritizing criteria. That is the order of review. So if you meet all the eligible requirements, it's like, okay, done, you get the grant. But like it needs to be under 2.5 million and on no PPP. So that was the first criteria. Of course, you know, business that has like a revenue of 1 million might be too different than a business that does 2.5, and might be too different than a business does 3 and 4 and 5. So we might have to cut data in different like segments and do like have that different categories. We will not have idea unless we close the period, and then we will go and like do a review process and selection process. So it doesn't matter when you provide the application again. I have received a lot of comments, concerns like, I don't want to fix my documents, just want you accept them. It's like that we are not going to accept any document that you send us. We are going to make you apply again because applications are final. So it doesn't matter the order. And we will rearrange data according to criteria that we are prioritizing. And also, it doesn't impact how much funding you received previously. So the priorities again are under 2.5 million PPP received, and then I guess it will go through the amounts of PPP received and so on.
Gotcha. And this next question, I think is tied to that. They're asking if an organization secured or was awarded other grants that you did not mention in this presentation, will that impact the application?
No.
No. Okay, great. Can you, we spoke about the scoring. Is it safe to assume that e-signatures are accepted? It seems like it's all e-signatures. Is that right?
Well, yes. I mean, the only way to submit an application is through the portal, and you have to sign there, but you're certifying everything, and you're using your email. Yes.
And this question looks like, is it?
Yes, we don't accept like, you know, you print it and then you fill it out. Please take this. No, you actually have to do it. You actually have to submit like everyone else through the portal.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And it's, I'm not sure if it's a question. This online system is not DMPED system, but City First system. I think that's about the application system.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a DMPED system or a City First
No,
system?
it's us.
It's us. Okay. Let's see. And can you circle back to the question if the business is eligible if open during 2020 during the pandemic? Yes, but there are other eligibility requirements that come in, but they could be open during 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not owned my business 3 years. Does that make me ineligible?
No, so it doesn't. So it's again like if you open at any time before 2019, during 2019, 2020, 2021, apply. Now, if you have less than 6 months for us to calculate 2021, we might not be able to find you, but if you extend that limit, just please apply.
And looking at franchises, can you speak about businesses such as 7-Eleven and their eligibility?
Yeah, 7-Elevens are eligible. Like that has been always the case with the district. However, just make sure that you know you provide all the documents. Usually, you don't know that it's a 7-Eleven until you see the profit and loss, because you know the entity is under their own structured business owner. Like it is like it has a local component themselves. They do not have under their ownership, you cannot find like the company that owns like 7-Eleven is not part of the owner. There's no majority owner. So in that case, you know, it's considered that it's independently owned. For some cases where an entity, a restaurant is owned for a big corporation, then they might not be independently owned and they will be considered ineligible.
And for taxes, if the person has their 2019 taxes, but they do not have their 2020 taxes, can they use their P&L instead of their 2020 taxes?
Yeah, but you might want to check that out.
File your taxes. Forget about the grant. You should be worried about the IRS. File your taxes.
I'm
Yeah.
very concerned about that.
Yeah,
Oh, sometimes they are not submitted, they are prepared, just submit them.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I think by now probably the extension for 2020 has passed, so it would be time. And here's
Yeah,
another eligibility type, or gentlemen's club type clubs qualifying for the grant.
actually, I think it does. Let me take a look too.
Yeah, I was going to check myself. I mean, it sounds like it might be entertainment, but it might be also
Yes,
one of
I think it
the
is under
excluded.
entertainment. Let me take a look.
And while you're checking that, the last question that came in that I could see is are nonprofits eligible? They are
No.
not. They are not. There are some nonprofits helping businesses prepare their application, but they are not eligible to apply. I think we caught everything in the chat, and the person who had their hand raised has left, it looks like. Were there any questions that you posted in the chat and I missed? Or if you have
Dental
other
was one.
questions?
There
Oh,
was
yes.
one.
Oh, please speak up. Hello.
Yes, hello. We had asked whether if services rendered included doing DNA testing, DOT exams, insurance exams, drug screening.
Oh, yes, we
Would
brought
that-
that up.
Let me check that. I think that's under professional services. What business license you currently having? You have only a basic business license, or you're operating with a professional business license?
No, they said we had to do a general.
Okay. I think my answer is no, but send us an email and we will be able to verify that with the district. Yeah, but I
A
think we will
question-
fall under professional. I think we will fall under professional because
Our
not even
question is-
acupuncture will fit.
Our question is in the chat. If you could let us know later.
Oh, yes,
that would be fine.
we've read it, we've read it before and also right now. So Viviana was saying that there's the list of eligible and the list of ineligible businesses is not exhaustive, the one that's
Mhm.
posted by DMPED. So this might be an area that they have, that Viviana CFE has to check
Yeah,
with DMPED.
I'm 90% like sure that will be a no. But you know,
It's worth
check
checking.
that.
So I dropped in the chat, the bridge fund at cfenterprises.org
send us an email.
email. Yeah, just drop an email. That way they could forward that on and they get that clarification. It's much like, sometimes we're almost sure, but just we want to double check before we give a definitive.
So you actually
No.
sell the things, or you actually provide the service for testing and so on? So
We
just
provide the
send them
service. We provide the
Okay.
service.
Yeah, so then a 95%. Yeah, I will check that out. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you for checking. Any other questions like we didn't catch in the chat or you'd like to add now? If not, here you see on the screen, oh, I'm sorry, I actually meant, I put her direct email. Look at the chat, I'll fix that when I send it out. The bridge fund at cfenterprises.org. This is how you reach her individually for other things, but as she mentioned, there's a team that will address the questions for the bridge fund that goes to CFE. So I'll put this back in the chat again. This has been awesome. Again, thank you, Viviana, for coming in on really timely day to come in for Monday Mondays and share these details about the grant. It is a grant that's open through the 25th of February. Do not wait till the 24th to do all this great stuff. It's the earlier you start is that you can pull in your accountant and the other person you need to pull in to get you the information you need to complete the form. You also have some more lead time to ask questions and get your responses in time to make adjustments in your application. And most of all, if you submit it before the due date, if there is a technical issue or you don't get the confirmation by your email, you can look into that. Don't wait till the 25th to do it because there's not enough wiggle room to address all those things. Any final thoughts, Viviana?
Yeah, it's just there is no again, and for more times that I repeat this, it doesn't enter into the mind of everyone because maybe some other grants were like that, but you know, not all all the grants are the same. So make sure to provide like a complete, accurate, and correct application. That will increase your probabilities of obtaining a grant. Most of the mistakes we have seen is you know, at the beginning when everyone rushes to provide an application just to be entering and they are expecting they will reach out with missing documents, or they try to provide the missing documents like at any point during the application period. That will not be the case with us. Like we actually want to make sure that you provide a complete and accurate information. So you will have to repeat your application. Like there is no way that we can attach the document that you provide. We also want to be fair with everyone else effort in provided like, you know, application and spending the time in one. So in some cases when, oh, you are selected, but oh, wait a second, it's missing a document. So let's go to the next one. And if there are like funds still available, sometimes we can go back, but not always to all of them. So just keep that in mind. Better provide a complete application than an incorrect application where you are going to be put at the end.
I do have one final question, real quick. Do you have, if you've applied, I'm Kay Pearson with Beacon Bright Business Alliance, which serves businesses on Georgia Avenue. If you've applied for or received funds from Great Streets, does that make you ineligible?
No, only the two federal fundings that I mentioned previously. We usually go and exclude them in case they provide an application. But there is also another grant. I think this arts. A second, I don't recollect that name. For a second. So is the Arts and Entertainment Venue Relief Fund. I think the district has mentioned it that they will have the list of grantees this week. So they will be send a notification that they were awarded. For those, like they will be considered ineligible. But any other grant that you had from the district, like you should be able to apply. We do not ask for that information as well. We only ask about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund and the Charter Revenue Operation Grant that's federal funding with the SBA. Just make sure that you understand you received funds from the Restaurant Bridge Fund Grant, the Entertainment Bridge Fund Grant. In the past, you're still eligible. Just for the Revitalization Fund is the one that no.
All right, thank you. And thank you for a
Thank you.
great presentation.
I concur. Thank you, Viviana. This was awesome. And thanks for everyone who joined and shared your questions. That always makes it even more interesting because it helps us see what information is needed. And those mysterious questions that we have to get extra guidance on is always good to hear. So that's the end of today's Money Monday through DSLBD's District Capitalise. Again, thanks again to City First Enterprises, CFE, Viviana, and the team who's working so hard on this Bridge Fund grant review. And we look forward to seeing you at our future Money Monday on the 28th and other activities. I wish everyone a great afternoon. Bye-bye.